Hey y'all, Quabila Jones here, host of the Q Spot podcast. Make sure to be intentional with your words, your thoughts, and your actions. And please subscribe, like, follow, share, and hit the notification bell. With special guest Reggie Jenkins discussing meeting needs, changing lives. Hey y'all, this is Quabila Jones, QB of the Q Spot podcast. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of the video series. My very special guest is Mr. Reggie Jenkins. And I know I'm going to mess up. Like, I keep wanting to say the acronym of your organization, like, as a
Unique,
word. I know
unique.
that's not right. What's her?
It's unique.
Unique. Okay, so I wasn't too far off. Thank you.
Yep.
You are Mr. Reggie is the executive director of this organization, and I can't wait to get more into the details of it. But I really want him to tell more of his story, how you got started in this on this journey because you started out doing something totally different than
Well,
in this organization. So I would love for you to tell your story. Right now you're living in Tennessee.
yep.
Um, and so how did this even happen? Like, let's start, I guess, in college. Let's
Well,
start in college.
let's go back. Let's go back a little bit further than that.
Okay.
I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where I reside. But I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And growing up, my family's from Mississippi. It's a little small town, 90 miles outside of Clarksdale, Mississippi. It's called Duncan. And
Okay.
so I guess I'm a country boy by nature, but my father's side, a lot of people who are go-getters, they're hustlers or whatever. And my father used to own a barber shop growing up. And so barbers just like hairstylists, they're like beauticians, they teachers, they're psychologists, they're all that kind of stuff. And my
Mm-hmm.
father was kind of like that in the community in Memphis. And so, he taught, he worked with a lot of young people and that kind of thing. So I guess I got the education bug through him, teaching
Okay.
and working with young people. I went to University of Tennessee, Knoxville, got a degree in math and statistics. But even in there, I found myself, the periods of the early 90s and 80s, late 80s, early 90s, especially for Black people, was an exciting time because even music back then was different in the fact that a lot of music brought out the consciousness and talked about the history and proud to be Black and all this stuff. And you had Different World and you had the Cosby Show. So it was a whole different vibe going on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to University of Tennessee, I got active with the Black Cultural Programming Committee, is a Black organization there, and we used to bring a lot of groups in. Matter of fact, my freshman year, I escorted Coretta Scott King for her speech, and so I got to
Oh,
meet her. Yeah, I met Coretta Scott King. I met Maya Angelou, Martin Luther King III. I met a lot of people, and so by participating and engaging in that, it kind of sparked the interest in who I am. So I did a lot of, reading outside of school, and it just opened myself up, And then in college, one of the best courses I took in college was a business speaking course. Because before then, I was just shy guy. I wouldn't talk much. I wouldn't do interviews. I wouldn't talk to people. I would talk to friends and stuff, but I didn't have that confidence in myself. So by taking this course, it opened me up as far as communicating, how to communicate. I got involved, acted, and that's one thing I'll tell parents. And if you got a child, you don't just involve them in like sports and athletics. Get them into things like debate club, chess club. Just a lot of very student government body, because everybody has talents within. Oftentimes we don't have that exposure, the opportunity to bring that out. And so, I want, and so I found myself, like I said, in college, graduated, worked in the school system for a minute. Then I took a corporate job at Coca-Cola, and I did that for like 18 years. But in the meantime, even when I was at the corporate job, I was volunteering with other programs through the Urban League and the YMCA, and I was always connected with young people. I just knew it was just subconsciously we were just connected with young people, and so around 2000, early 2000s, I wanted to start my own program because I noticed that a lot of young people when I was working with and seeing a lot of after school programs, they really just babysitting programs. They really wasn't correcting anything that the children needed. They weren't helping them academically. They weren't helping with life skills. They couldn't find themselves like I found myself. And so I created UUNIK Academy in 2003. Well, September will be our 18th year, and UUNIK Academy is a 501c3 nonprofit in Tennessee, based in Tennessee. And our mission is to assist in the holistic development of African American youth in order to produce responsible adults. We're in the business of transforming young people. Since our inception, we work with over 4,000 youth, grades ages 5 through 15 typically is the ages that we work with. We have various programming like the ACT Prep. We do Calling All Males Youth Conference. We used to do Calling All Females Youth Conference. We did coding camps for young people, and I run a summer school too every summer. And then you think that ain't enough. I just started a private elementary school this September, Aiming Learning Institute. So I'm gonna shut up.
Wow, like I'm just in awe. That is, you have so many things going on, but they're so enriching. I
Yeah.
was looking at my own community and thinking about my own community, we need stuff like that here. We, and I say we, and I'm going to be unapologetic right now. We as Black people need to teach our own kids about our history and our culture and what it means to be us, and what the struggles we went through and how they shaped our lives, and
Yeah.
how to look at history to kind of move forward, and have a better present and future. Like, not to say that anyone else can't teach us, but unless you have firsthand experience and some of these issues, then I'm sorry, you can teach the black and white version, what's in a book, but you can't teach what's in the heart, and I'm sorry. I
It's
know
like
I'm sorry.
you can bake a cake, but you don't make it like grandmama make it.
No, and I don't have that book. I didn't get that
No,
book.
but
So
you know what I'm saying. But that's my analogy to what you're saying. Like I can't go to Korea. I can go to Korea and try to teach Korean children, but I
mhm.
can't do it the way they do because I don't understand their culture. I don't understand their unique history, their rich tradition. It'll take me a period of 5 to 10 years, in my opinion, to sit there and understand the people before I can teach them.
Yes.
And that's how I feel about our Black students. It's funny that everybody else can teach their own children, but when it's time for us to teach it, oh, you being reverse racist, or you discriminate. Why? And if you look at the U.S. Public school system, 90% or higher of the teachers are white, and most of them are women. So what can a suburban white teacher teach a Black kid, a Black child? I mean, you can teach subject
Yes.
matter, but you see, it's not about the subject matter. It's all the things in between it. And
Yes.
I really, one of my main, I guess I was destined to go this road, years ago. And because when I started school, a lot of people was like, yeah, I could see, I saw you a long time ago doing this. This is where you're supposed to be. And when I started, I saw like the disparities, and I'm pretty sure it's like that where you are, the disparities in like school suspensions, special education, putting all these little Black boys in special ed, doing all these little, microaggressive things, racist things towards elementary age boys and girls. And I'm just like, look, man, this got to stop. And COVID really just sealed the deal, because here, I don't know about where you are, here, March to August, there was no learning going on. They was handing out like meals because the children, depending on school to eat, and giving old packages of old material that they did,
Mm.
but they was not allowing schools and teachers to get on Zoom and try to teach their classes. They just shut that down for like 6 months. And you might as well say from March to December, because they started school in September, but it's been like touch and go ever since then. And so a lot of these children are not getting instruction. So they pretty much lost a year or two. If it was up to me, um, I would make these children repeat grade, because you really haven't really learned anything this year. This year's a wash. Now, I'm saying
Yes.
for all children, but for a lot of our children, this year is just really a wash. So I was pissed off and said, what can I do? The best way to protest, in my opinion, is to build your own. And so I said, you know what? I got less than a handful of youth, but that's okay. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna develop my own curriculum, do all my things, work the system, and just make it happen.
Wow, you are really making some major moves. And I'm sure that your students, even though you say they're small in number now, I guarantee they're going to start growing. The numbers will start
Yeah,
growing more
yeah.
and more, probably quicker than you hope or you expect. Now, do you have any other teachers under your belt right now?
Do I
In
have
your
any what now?
any other teachers in
No,
your
it's just me right
influence?
now. No,
Just
but I
you?
do. Well, I don't. It's just me because of funding right now. It's just me,
Okay.
and this elementary age sure, so I can handle that.
Okay.
If it was middle school, high school, I will. But you know what? Let me back up. Sorry, I am the primary. I'm the school director and the primary teacher. I do
Okay.
have a young lady comes in. She's Spanish. She teaches Spanish. I recruited a guy who went to UT with. He's a jazz pianist. He teaches piano. I
Okay.
have a retired engineer. He does my STEM classes. So I don't know what I'm coming from, but yeah, I have people because what I do is instead of just having teachers, I can teach the foundational stuff, the English, the
Okay.
math, all that stuff. But what I want to bring is the other stuff, like the arts of it, the span, this foreign language, or this, that, and the other. And I can in every community, somebody black that can do something like that, and they can
Hmm.
come in and teach what they know hands on. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be a quote unquote a former teacher. Now, being a private school, once I get, because I'm working on a building, getting a building. Once I get a building, anybody that I bring in that works for me has to all in the state of Tennessee. That in the private school, all you have to do is have a college degree. You don't have to be certified. So I can train them the way I want to train them because I want it to go a different way. I think the thing about schools and public schools and teachers, they get programmed, conditioned to operate a certain way.
Hmm.
And I don't want my school to operate. If it ain't working, we're gonna chuck that and go another route. And
Okay.
so, so that's what I want. But I want people who are flexible. I want people who are just so conditioned to do things a certain way and they can't change,
Okay.
So I want people who can be flexible and still teach, and still get the education. And then what I do also to make sure my numbers stay, because the numbers of the adults I have around these kids going to be relatively small.
Okay.
So what I do, I have this thing, I'm gonna make a shirt out of it. It said, see it, read it, learn it, teach it. So what I
Okay.
do with my children is once I teach them, learn it. One of the things I do with them is if you know this, okay, teach it to me, explain it
Oh,
to me, break it down. And if you can do that, you get the grade, whatever grade you deserve. So you don't always have to have a written test or teach it to me. And then because
okay.
you can teach it to me, I can use you as assistant to teach others. So if your classmate is struggling in this concept, you can help him. And a part of your grade will be helping him. So I teach that camaraderie, because UNIK is 5 or 7 principles of Kwanzaa, Umoja, unity, Ujama is cooperative economics, Nia, purpose, money, faith, Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. So we incorporate all of those in our different activities and programs and stuff like that.
Now you're speaking my language. Kwanzaa is my favorite. Like, I have always felt like we can incorporate Kwanzaa principles 24/7, 365. I even bought a book on how to practice Kwanzaa 365.
Yeah.
And I want to start doing some of those activities within my own neighborhood as well. I love that concept. But if you have a spot open, virtual spot, holler at me. I'll be happy to lend a hand, volunteer some services here and
Yeah,
there.
we can work something out. We can work it out. We can work it out. Like I said, I think school, education. I ain't gonna say school. Education should be a community thing. We should use the community. Especially when now we got virtuals and stuff like that. Got to use the community. We got to. It's all our responsibility to raise children. All of our responsibilities. So that's what I want to do, and I want to be an example because in where I am in my area, a lot of us don't have the confidence that we can teach our own. Probably the same around the country. A lot of us don't believe that we can. I know people got PhDs and all this stuff, and they complain about the schools and their principals and got these EDDs, and I'm like, you can't start school. I'm just like, You can't do this. If you, I mean, because the school system ain't gonna change. It's not gonna change. It's been like this for the last 100 some odd years. This is the same thing. This thing was created in the late 1800s. It's the same kind, and schools were created for industrial, training people to be workers or managers of workers. So it's a really good book out there. It's called The Underground History of American Education, and explains to you. It was written by a teacher, John Taylor Gatto. He was a 30-year New York teacher of the year several times. He was just, the guy was so brilliant that he was spoke all around the world and all that stuff. So he wrote a book on how the public schools got started, and it was started. They took a model from Prussia and brought it here because the original intent of school was to separate children from their parents. And because back then, 1800s, everything was agricultural, and the family, like everything was, you lived around your aunts, uncles, grandmamas, all that kind of stuff. Y'all worked together and all that kind of stuff. So the Rockefellers and the Carnegies knew, in order for them to keep their money and to keep their power, they're gonna have to separate the kids, because the creative geniuses is with the young people. And if you condition them, and you got their minds and their spirits, and you train them the way you want, you'll never have competition. Because look at Facebook. Facebook was a 19-year-old child out of Harvard. I don't know, it was Harvard, whatever he went to, Zuckerberg. When you look at all these creations, they're creations of young people. Jeff Bezos created Amazon in the 90s. I don't know, he was early 20s or whatever he was. But, that creativity. So they created public schools to shift that. And they just wanted them to be workers or managers of workers. And we're still under that same system. Now, for Black children, it's a prison pipeline thing too now. It's because if you look at schools and prisons, they really ain't too much different. You know what I'm saying? Somebody tells you when to go out your cell. Somebody tells you when to leave your room. I train my young people. I do this analogy with young people that I teach. I say, you have a dog. You teach that dog how to fetch a stick, bark, sit on his hind legs at your command. Is that dog well trained or educated? The children will be like, that's well trained. I said, well, you take a child from age 5, put them in the building, and from 5 to 17, you teach that child how to go from room to room at the sound of a bell. And all he or she has to do is sit in a chair and regurgitate what that grown person in front of you tell you every so often on a piece of paper or whatever. Is that child well trained and educated? That child is well trained. So schooling is training. It's not education. Education is a group thing. Education. Now I can teach you concepts about fractions and stuff like that. But what we're going to do with that? How's they going to apply for our lives? I got to show you that. And then my children school me because they'd be like, well, Mr. Reggie is an easy way of doing that. Or Mr. Reggie. So I make it to where we all are learning, because I'm human. I'm a mess up. You know what I'm saying? So and I try to teach them, once you get the fundamentals, we can go anywhere you want to go, wherever you want this thing to go. But our center is science, technology, engineering, arts, math. So that's the center of the school. Anything else we can do, we can take care of. So let me be quiet.
No, I am totally enjoying this. I am my wheels are spinning. Anyone can tell you I'm the queen of questions. I'm the queen of ideas. When someone is sharing what's working in their neck of the woods, I'm thinking, how can I implement, or not but how can that be implemented in my, neck of the woods? Because
I got a plan for that too. I got a plan for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we definitely want to stay in contact, because we're at the risk of losing our children. As you say, the school systems, the way they're set up, they're not grasping all of our children, and we're losing them. You were talking earlier about the disproportionate rates of how children are put in these different programs that are supposed to help, such as special education classes, and they're getting suspended and expelled and things like that. In my city, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, we have a school called the Alternative School, or they call it Success Academy. There's nothing successful about it. I know whoever gets hold of this video, they're going to want to come after me, but it's whatever. It's kind of the drop-off zone for those children that the schools don't want. They kind of don't have the energy, they don't have the desire to deal with them. Some students, yes, have behavior issues, but I'm sure you as an educator know there's a root to everything that children do and say. They're not just acting out because, well, some are bored, some are highly intelligent and bored. Some are acting out because there's some other environmental element there. There's family issues. There's whatever issues happening. But because the school doesn't want to take time to find out what is the root of that issue, well, let's just put them over here because they got behavior problems. We don't want to deal with that. They're disrupting the other kids who want to learn, but some of those kids might not even be AB students. You know, they may just be whatever. So anyway, yes, we, the Black community, we, the leaders, need to take back control over what we're putting into our children and how we're nurturing them and helping them to grow and navigate this world. We always say, those of us in a different generation say this world times are different now. Well, the game of life is essentially the same. It's just the players and the technology that has changed.
I mean, it really ain't nothing new under the sun. This is, I mean, yeah, outside of the technology, this is the same stuff. We until was around, you know, that was going on. Now look at, you know, the George Floyds and all that kind of stuff. So really, we had, you know, it's the same game. Our children, we, you know, mothers pray when their son leave the house because you don't know what can happen, you know, or whatever. You look at schools and things of that stuff's going on, the instability, you know. So it's really, a lot of it is the same thing. It's a lot of it's going to be contingent on our efforts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what has to happen is, now I'll say one thing I think that was different back then is now we had more strong leadership, particularly men leadership back then and now. I don't see a lot of men stepping up to the plate. There are a lot of men stepping up, but, you know, on a collective scale, I don't see that more so than, you know, what we saw. You look at our groups, man, our organizations, you know, prior to COVID, you know, most of our organizations, not all, but most of our organizations built are centered around socialization, socializing, you know, galas and parties and all that stuff. But how many people you're talking about? Okay, let's pool our money together and buy a hotel. Let's build a school. Let's do something impactful. And, you know, without trying to get all these dollars from outside entities, why we just can't pull our money together. Real quick story. About 2 or 3 years ago, because like 90% of my funding comes from individuals and stuff like that. I get a little bit of grant money, but it's ICE. It's not really the basis of where my money comes from. So 3 or 4 years ago, it was this group of white guys in particular had this group called 100 Men Who Care. It's a white organization. And I don't think it's around anymore, but it started up north, and the guy from up north came down to Knoxville, and he lived in Knoxville. So what it was is they would get 100 white men together, and every month they would put $100 in a pot, and individuals in the group would select a local nonprofit to come and pitch. And, you know, if you pitched and whoever won, be 3 or 4 organization nonprofit, you tell your mission, all that stuff, you answer questions, and they'll vote right then and there who get that pot. So, and this is a funny story. So it was a Tuesday. I'll never forget it. I was coming from a bank with my son, and an associate of mine, he's another nonprofit. He texted me, he's like, man, congratulations. I hear you going to pitch on this group. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, man, you don't know? Yeah, your name came up and you supposed to be pitching for your nonprofit tonight. I said, tonight, where? He said, tonight at such and such place at 6. So I said, show me the text, show me the email. So he sent me the email. I contacted the people because I didn't know anything about it. And it just so happened, one of the young guys that was helping me out, his roommate, who was a part of it, nominated me, but they didn't tell me anything about it. Oh. And so this is like 9, 10 o'clock. So I had to come up with something like within a few hours, get down there at 5. The thing started to sit and pitch my organization. So and it's funny because it was a blessing because I went third, and one of the older gentlemen was like, "You see what they're doing? Don't do that. Do this and this." Okay, you got to tell me. And so I pitched it and I got it. And so, and that was just like, 2 weeks later, they cut a check, And so I'm saying, like, why can't we do this? You can't tell me you can't get 100 black people, different organizations to pitch $50. You know, that's $5,000 a month, and just put that in a coffer and a whatever, and come out at the end of the year, and whoever has the best idea out of 3 or 4 or 5 people get that money, and you just do it every year, every month. See, we can solve our own problems.
Yes.
I'm not gonna. You can't tell me we can, especially right now with social media, internet. Back in the '80s, I wouldn't have known you in Jonesboro unless I bumped into you. Because we didn't have internet. So my circle was small back in the '70s, '80s, based on, just where if I was one of these guys who went all over the country and stuff, that'd be different. But most of us don't travel outside of 20 miles where we grew up and live. And so, but because of the internet, I can travel wherever, I can talk to whomever. And so we can build that. So, that's one of my missions for STEAMY is I want a school, but I want a small school. The one building wouldn't have no more than 50 children. Okay. But what I'm gonna do is create satellites, campuses, and just keep it small, because with COVID, pandemics, I think the days of having 102,000 kids in the building is just gone. The public school system ain't caught on yet, but it's gone. You don't need all that. You just shrink it down, smaller overhead. And I believe because every child in every city, the federal government allocates a certain amount of dollars per child, like 5, 6, 7, 8, depending where you live. Parents should run that money and take their kid and put them wherever they want them. That's school choice. It shouldn't be the school board dictating, or people like the teachers union coming down on charter schools because they're supposed to be pulling federal dollars away, which is a lie. A parent should have the right to, if she wants her child to have a great education in the school across town, or this charter school, this private school can do it, make it happen. So, but for me, I'm private, and I'm going to get the money and the support from the community, and we're going to make our children great. That's those children in alternative school. We have one here. Them some geniuses. We just gotta figure out what their issues are, help them solve their issues with them, and then direct that energy towards something constructive and purposeful and passionate. And they'll get it. They'll be there.
Yes, most definitely. As you were talking, I was thinking about when the pandemic, I'm gonna say first started, but around March, April, when they were, getting close to getting out of school, parents were kind of struggling with this idea. What are we going to do next? What's going to happen? The school system, they had from May, June, July, mid-August to put something in place.
Figure it out.
Nobody did anything. Okay. So my thought process was, because I heard a lot of people talking about homeschooling, virtual learning, this, that. I'm like, what happened to co-ops? Back, like you said, before internet, before all of this, even back early 1900s, whatever the case, co-ops were the thing. It was mainly, assigned to farmers. However, that same concept can work across many platforms.
Yep.
Find a parent that maybe stays home, or several parents, work out a schedule. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at this house, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this house, whatever. Everybody quarantines, everybody practice safety measures, however you want to work it out. That this is your bubble of people that are hopefully virus free, and you work all those details out.
I'll give you one better. March, April, May, June, July, August is warm. Go to a park, get you some chairs, and teach. Spread the kids out. It's outside. You got every school has a stadium. Well, every high school has a football, baseball stadium back there. Get you like here. They canceled the graduations until the parents made so much of a big stink. They had them, but they had limited the number of people in. I was like, we got football stadiums, graduation outside. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm like you. I'm like, make it happen. just because of something that's going on doesn't mean that learning should stop happening.
That's
You
right.
know, and then you know what? This is what people don't realize about COVID, because I like researching. 99% of the people under 70 who tested positive recovered if they got sick. If they got sick, the people who are in danger are the elders. So they don't even have enough data on the babies, because the babies ain't really, you have something here and there, but most of the babies ain't there. So you can spread them out. I had a summer school from June, July, 7 weeks. 16 young people, 3 adults. We was in a church in the building. We were, because the health department here gave us the regulations, what we can do and all that. We did it every day. Sanitize, wipe down. Nobody got sick. Nobody.
Wow.
And and parents dropped them off, picked them up every morning. They couldn't come in, but they dropped them off, picked them up. None of them babies. I had 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 to 10-year-olds, 16. I had 3 classrooms. You know what I'm saying? They went outside, recreation, all kind of stuff. Nothing happened. You can make it happen. You can, but life can't stop because we're going through something.
Okay, so let's talk about the school systems and then and now, and what could we have done in this time that the school board had to make plans to get our kids back on track.
Well, I think one thing they could have did was, you could have worked outside, because when COVID hit mid-March, for a lot of places it was warm. So you could have opened it up to where you got football stadiums, you got parks, you got all that kind of stuff. You could have worked with the local churches, because a lot of local churches was closed. So you could have did a thing where we sent a teacher. I mean, every city has a lot of churches, black and white. So you could have did a thing, say, okay, let's the school superintendent and the mayor could have met with the local parishioners and said, look, we got a plan. We want y'all help. We're going to send 20 children per this church, depends on your size. And we'll have a teacher over there that's close proximity to the school, that kind of thing. You open the building, Wi-Fi, we give the kids Chromebooks, Wi-Fi, and all that stuff. And we're going to commence learning. Or can go outside. Or you can stair step it, where Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we go to the schools. Only half the population go to school. The other half goes Tuesday and Thursday. It's a number of ways you could have played this. And also, because the thing about it, everybody in the country didn't shut down.
Yeah.
I talked to some people in Atlanta, near Atlanta, Nashville, DC, some other areas. They was already Zoom. So they just kept Zooming it. Didn't shut down. And I heard one of the excuses was, but they was talking about IEPs, that's individual education programs for children with special needs, and being a federal law that all children has to have access. Okay, make it happen.
Okay.
You couldn't make it. You got YMCA, you got, Boys and Girls Club. You got all these facilities. You could have spread these children around, and made something happen. Some children could have went Zoom. Some of the parents felt like their children could stay at home and Zoom. At least made the opportunity to have the offer, so parents could say, okay, I can choose this day or that way. You allow your teachers to connect with the parents. Teachers could connect with their children at the house via Zoom, and shrink down the lesson. You don't have to put all this in it. You say, okay, we're going to keep it basic. We're going to keep it fundamental. We're going to deal with this concept, and we're going to do it over a period of time, and kept the child engaged, as opposed to doing nothing. So that lets you know the leadership is bad, because you're not creative. Whatever's going on in Jonesboro or Knoxville, somebody else have already experienced. Get with them. Make a phone call. If I don't know somebody, make a phone call. To other local people around the country or something. How did you? Florida been doing this for 20 years.
Wow.
So like in Tennessee, they spent all this money to buy a online system that Florida had already set up.
Okay.
It's like, because we have archaic people, we have these dinosaurs over school boards who are all about. School boards to me are like corporations, and like these. You got these people who put money in their pocket. They're construction developers, building new schools, that kind of thing. And it's really not representative of the people who are out here working and can make it happen. Superintendents, a lot of them are not teachers. You know, they don't, it's like me trying to be OBGYN. I don't have no clue about that. You know, but they hire these guys for the business, you know, the numbers and crunching. They ain't thinking about the human side. They ain't think about that. They just think about numbers and keeping them federal dollars, spend that federal dollars so they can ask for more next year, as opposed to being wise with the money they got, you know, and that kind of thing. You know, black schools get the short end of the stick. You know, I understand how all this federal dollars come to a school system, but every time the black schools get the short end of the stick, they don't get the equitable amount of money to go in their schools to provide these. There's always cutting stuff out of black schools. So it's just, like I said, we got to do our own, you know. So
I think a big part of that, and this is just from my personal observation, we don't raise our voice enough. We're not consistent when we raise our voice. And I say we, I'm just going to use my community. Okay. We raise our voice at the point when it has really ruffled our feathers, versus being consistent across the board. We don't show up to every school board meeting. We don't vote consistently. We don't show up to what do you call them, parent-teacher conferences until the child has done something really bad. We're not consistent.
I think that's complex though. That's very, because first of all, like, I think a lot of people have lost hope in the system. You know, it's kind of like a relationship. If you was in a relationship and you was in love with this man at one point, and at some point in the relationship, you just don't know love is there, no matter what you try to do. And so if your heart ain't in it, you're not going to put your best foot forward. You know, you're not going to be all in. And I think a lot of black people, when it comes to school boards and stuff like that, and you got to look at it from a historical perspective, you know, we've been fighting this fight for centuries.
Yes.
So at some point, people get tired. It's like, and, you know, and a lot of our parents and people are overwhelmed. They just have so much on their plate. So like school board meeting or this, that, and the other, really, to me, they are inconvenienced anyway. You know, they should be happening, you know, in a more convenient. I mean, it's to me, I agree with you that we should be more up. But for my thing of it is, I look at it like, okay, what's the problem with the community? What's the feeling? What's the overall feeling of the community? And how can I change that? You change it by showing examples of success. Because we'll raise our voice and they'll do something. In the end, they do the same old stuff. And for me, I think people are looking for alternatives. Tired of fighting a big old mountain. They tired of climbing that mountain. And it's like, yeah, you can raise your voice and all that stuff. I'll give you a prime example. A friend of mine, he died in 2001. He was a city councilman here, black guy, radical, dashiki. Like when he was inaugurated, he had a dashiki on. His family had a dashiki on. And I'm in like Lily-White, Tennessee. So he was just bold back then, man. Bold community person. He had cancer, so he died. The community showed up and said, look, we want his wife to fill out his term because there's been a precedent. Am I saying that right? A precedent that happened in another place where this guy died and the wife fulfilled this. They wanted, the community showed up, shut out. They already had in their mind who they wanted. They just sit there and listen to you. See, a lot of times when we cry and complain, they already gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so people just don't have no faith in them anymore. Now, you can vote them out, but eventually, you know, you may get one or two people who's some community based, but the rest of them jokers, man, it's like, and so my thing is, yes, we can fight that, but at the same time, create your own. Because see, to me, power is the ability to have for yourself, and they have to come to you. You know what I'm saying? Anytime I have to keep coming to Queen Bee's house asking for a meal, Queen Bee got the right hand. She can diss me. She can slam the door in my face. She can feed me one day. She can do whatever. It's her house.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, create your own house. Yeah, I know all our kids can't go to private school, but while we can do that, we can be matriculating these babies up out of there. And then another thing with PTA meetings, I'm a community partner with several schools here, middle school, elementary school, and they used to complain. I used to go to these meetings. They complain about the parents not showing up. I said, you know where the parents going to be. Stop trying to make them come to this meeting. They're going to be at the local high school football game on Friday nights. They're going to be in church on Sunday. They'll be at the shop on Saturday and Friday. And, you know, so go to them with the agenda and talk to them. And when you make that relationship, that connection, they'll come. And there's another thing about our parents. You gotta understand, school was very traumatic for a lot of us growing up. So if I'm a parent of a child, even though, I should be able to the point where I can get to the point of being overcome. A lot of us, when we see these schools, it's very intimidating. I used to escort parents. Like some of my parents have called me over the years. Said, can you go to school board with me? This this student teacher meeting with me. I've been to several of those things because they just like that support. Because as a parent, you walking in a building, it's 5 or 6 people in front of you telling you about your child. And if you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, a lot of, you don't know the system, you're going to just let them talk crazy about your child. And even if you go off, they're going to look at you like you're crazy, and escort you out. So you got to come in there with a game plan. You got to have support. So a lot of our parents need us support. Those of us who know the game and can understand it. A lot of our parents are just not self-assured. They got personal trauma they're going through. So it's like I said, it's complex. I agree that the responsibility of the child lies in the parent. But if we're not helping our parents and supporting and equipping our parents, it's a hamster wheel. We're gonna keep spinning this wheel and nothing's gonna change.
So this is where you come in. I didn't give the title in the very beginning, which is make me misquoted. Meeting needs meeting needs changing lives. So this is where you come in. You saw a need in your community. You saw where the lack was, and you decided within yourself, like, I may be stepping out here alone, but I'm going to step out and I'm going to do what's best for these children. And in the meantime, in the long run, you will then grab their parents. They see their children having this spark and like, okay, what's happening? What's creating that? And so like, let me go talk to Mr. Reggie and see what is he teaching my children? Okay, then how can I implement and expand that at home? And that's going to create an even better environment, a different type of cycle, a more positive cycle that we hope to continue, and it spreads further without the Black community. And so this is where your organization comes in. And I hope that many people see the value in what you do, and they will want to continue to support what you do in your community. So again, you don't just help young boys, you work with young ladies as well. And there are times, from my experience, young ladies need to see that strong, positive male influence. Again, depending on what's happening at home or what's not happening. I didn't have very many male teachers, but the ones I had, they did make an impact in my life. And so I could have benefited from more Black males being in an education role in my life. So thank you for what you've chosen to do and how you stepped up. Let's talk about what has been some of the feedback. So you've been doing this for some years. You're going into your 18th year. So what has been some of the feedback from the kids and their parents, about your program?
Man, they love it. They love the first thing, I set a high bar. Like, I'll give you example. I first of all, I got to give thanks to people who supported me, helped me, gave me a blueprint. Like, I went to about 5-6 years ago. We started going to this homeschool conference in Atlanta. It hasn't every July outside of COVID. It used to happen every July. It's because when I had a child, I was going to homeschool, and then we met a lot of people down there, and a lot of people. And there's one particular guy, struck a friendship. He's in Chicago, Marcus Klein. He has his own school in Chicago. Has been operating 13 years up there. And so me and an associate of mine, we went up there about 3 or 4 years ago, study under him and see what he was doing. And so it's not like, nothing is like an island. People who do things in this world, it's not an island. So it's like, it's always, people that helps you. And so I had a support system. But like I said, because what I did was I showed us a thing of consistency. Whether you like me, don't like me in here, people know that I'm consistent in what I'm doing. And so when you build a reputation of being consistent, it is about the children and they know you sincere, then, the feedback is great. But what I've learned is I think the bar is too low for our children. We set the bar too low, and the school system set the bar too low. I mean, like, I have 5-year-olds saying ACT words. My, second graders, they know their states and capitals. They know the continents. They know the countries. We doing things on a level. They know the history. We learn the history. Every day is history. Every day is Black history. I'm teaching them about, not about Madam C.J. Walker, Queen Nefertiti, Imhotep, the Great Pyramids, Paul Robeson, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Rosa, whoever. We doing that. And they have to memorize that stuff. They have to know it. They have a mantra. They have an affirmation they have to say every day. They have a pledge they have to say every day. We go through the 7 principles of Kwanzaa every day. And every week it's a particular principle. And we have to dialogue about that, and they are learning this stuff. And I'm real aggressive with it. Like my parents at first, when I started my summer school about 5 years ago, and I had like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, my parents was like freaking out because they was have homework every day. I said, it's like, Mr. Reggie, it's summertime. So I don't care.
Okay.
Learning don't stop. You know what I'm saying? So, but they got used to it, and the children got used to it. So if I had stopped, they were like, well, where's the homework? Why are we working? So I would send them home because I sharpened the schools, because what happened is when they started back to school in August, September, the parents would be frustrated because the child knows all this stuff, like the fall semester. We've been through all that. So they had school board bugging out, because I know all this. Mr. Reggie went over this. I mean, I had one child, he's still coming to my summer school. He started with me, he was 4. And because what we do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment.
Okay.
And so I pre-assessed him, like, this dude can keep up with the kindergarten. Now he's 4, pre-K. So I just put him with the 5-year-olds. And so he was 4, he was with the pre-K. And then when he was kindergarten, he was with the first graders. And this last year, he's with the second grade. So I'm gonna have him with the third grade, and he's still in the second grade. And then, I talked to his parents and stuff, and he went to a private school, and they were like, too slow. And I said, well, show him what we doing. Because we had a folder that thick of work for 7 weeks. She went there and showed the school all this work he'd done. They was like, they still didn't really push him up, because for me, for my school, it's not going to be based on your age or your grade per se. It's going to be based on your ability, because you have 5-year-olds who can keep up with first graders. And then you got 4th graders who can't keep up with 3rd graders or 2nd graders. So if you're 4th grade and you read on the 2nd grade level, guess where you're going to start?
With the 2nd grade.
That's what it is, until we get you to that point where you can move up. So that's our whole thing. I'm going to have piano classes. We're going to teach agriculture. We're going to teach all these various things that our children should know. And so you teach that strong cultural bond from kindergarten to 5th grade. You can send them anywhere. You can send them to the whitest school. They're going to know who they are. So you can't mess with them.
I've been trying to have this conversation with people. When I was working on my master's degree, there was an education component, and it opened our eyes up to the different learning styles of students and the different learning systems that are available, and the different theorists and what they theorized about how kids learn in different settings. And I always not always, but during those courses, I more so lean toward the Montessori school setting, because it's more student-led, where the teacher's just the guide versus the teacher's just the authority. Yeah. The teacher's just there to kind of nudge and guide you, but it's like the students are saying, this is what we want to learn, this is what we're interested in. Yeah. And they are navigating these lessons in a way that is, I don't know, it's really expanded their mindset. And I know Montessori is only one type of school.
But it's all it is about holistic learning, learning like, holistic. All you're doing is getting the buy-in of the student. You know what I'm saying? Having them have the buy-in of what you're teaching them. Once they bought in and they can lead and do other things, they're great. So that's the thing. And then, I mean, it's Montessori. A lot of these systems it's indigenous. It's old. They'll package it and call it Montessori. Man, we've been doing this for thousands of years, man. This ain't, the indigenous people in America, indigenous people in Africa, they already had a system of education. The Boy Scout, the whole concept of Boy Scout came from the indigenous people called an Indians here. This British guy came here and studied what they doing, and he packaged it up and called it Boy Scout, and that's what they do. But he just stole what he saw in America and Africa. We've been ain't nothing new under the sun. We've done all this. We just got to go back to where we came from and implement it and incorporate it in a 21st century style. That's what I'm doing. It's like,
So you are going to have a group of leaders that are going to be ahead of the pack. And I'm always trying to have the conversation with our state legislators and representatives about what can we do to revamp, overhaul the school curriculum. I said, because our students deserve to be able to compete on a global level. We have kids in China and Japan and Russia, wherever.
Yes.
Those kids, when they leave elementary school, they can run circles around some of our middle school and high school kids. So we got to step up the game. And especially if we want our children to one day grow up, either be workers in a system or managers or owners in a system, they need to.
Well, it's going to be worse now because in the 21st century, when you got artificial intelligence, drone technology, robotics, coding, what's that, cybersecurity and all this stuff, IT information. It's going to be a small few people who are in the loop and everybody else is out. There's no work. I've seen it where it was a McDonald's somewhere in the country. It's just all self-automated. There's no, there's nobody
in the fixing of food.
Yeah. And so they're working on that. If they're working on cars that drive itself, they're trying to get rid of the labor, because these corporations are all about saving money, making more money. You save the most money when you cut the employees, and so that's what's going on. And then it's unfortunately with our state legislature and our U.S. Congress, most of them are bought off. They're lobbyists, corporate until we can remove money from politics. And there are some good people, but by year 10, they fall in the pack because money runs everything. Lobbyists control. That's like 22,000 lobbyists in America, registered in D.C. over 22,000. They wield more power than 100 million votes. State, city, and you look at it. Look at schools. What are they doing? The money is in the books. The money is in the construction. The money is in. They spend billions of dollars, federal dollars, putting children IEPs, special ed programs, all that kind of stuff. They're not putting money in preventive medicine. They're putting money in, you got a headache, aspirin type thing. It's reactive. It's not preventive. So again, I think, we can put pressure on them, but I think we're going to have to build some kind of economic unit to put pressure on them. Like in Jonesboro, a lot of our people may be struggling poverty. Well, if I had the ability to hire 100 people, I want to be an impactful dude in that city. You know what I'm saying? Because I have property taxes, I'm generating revenue, and I'm playing. They're gonna come to me. The city councilman, all whoever district I'm in, they're gonna come to me. So I think that's what we have to focus hone in on. Not to say you don't still put pressure on the school board and all that. At the same time, you go, okay, what can we own? What can we control? And let me show you a model of success, and just do that, and then link up with other like-minded people, and we make a connection, a village, international village, connect with people and create our own schools. Like you said, the co-ops, you can call them, because suburban white people are creating these little hubs, learning hubs. The kids ain't going back to school because they got these little learning hubs, and they got to pay somebody to come in and teach Monday. You teach Tuesday, you teach Wednesday, you teach Thursday, you teach Friday. Well, we can do the same thing. We got some retired teachers, because a lot of them are retired this May. They ain't going back. They ain't going back. They gonna retire. So they retire. That's what you're gonna do. You can hire.
I'm sure there's some people that will hear this conversation and be like, "You're talking crazy." They don't. It sounds easy, but no. It's about how willing are you to put the energy into it. You have to start somewhere. I don't consider myself the most militant person. However, I get passionate about some things, and because of the education that I have, coupled with my experience and wisdom and knowledge, I'm a force to be reckoned with. Now you can't tell me nothing. No, I may not can physically do all the work, but this right here, And this right here, I can do that. So yeah.
I mean, this is why I tell people, you can think this is crazy, but in your heart of hearts, you know it's true. You know, right there. Currently, I've listened to a lot of conversations all over the country right now. You know, people have podcasts and stuff, education. People the kids are struggling from San Francisco to Maine to Tallahassee, Florida. Black kids are struggling, and I'm hearing all these educators talk about it, but I rarely hear them talk about building their own school. I hear them about how we're gonna fix, how we're gonna fight the school system, teachers union, you're gonna fight this and that. Okay, you can do that. I'm not saying not to. You can walk and chew gum, but at the same time, where are you gonna start? What you gonna create? You know, because again, if white people have a problem, if Asians have a problem, guess what they do? Create their own. That they ain't gonna argue with you. They're gonna create their own, and they're gonna go in their little world and create and teach their own children the way they want them to be taught. You know, we the only ones talking about it's crazy to do that. I tell parents, I used to do this parent orientation at a preschool. It's a school, but it's third and fourth grade, 3-year-old and 4-year-olds. So it's prior before kindergarten. So they have school here like that. And the principal used to call me in to do this parent orientation. Parent orientation, trying to set the tone for the parents for the school year. Okay. And so I always use the example every time I do it. I said, if I had your child and I kidnapped your child and I told you to get $2,500 in 24 hours, what would you do? Most parents would say, I'm going to find that money and get my child back. I said, exactly. That's how education in me, life and death. You should do anything and everything in your power to make sure your child get where he or she needs to go. And it's insane to keep putting them in situations where you know they're going to mistreat him or her. You're not trying. If you're not going to fight in the system, you're not going to be that present parent who, if you can be anyway, be there at the school as often. You figure out another way. It's other ways. Get on your pastors. We got too many churches in Black communities just sitting there. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to open the door and do something, pastor. You know, don't be giving your tithe and your money 10% and you ain't getting no return. You know, that means you got to, you know, if you got to be those, they should be the homeless. That's what Jesus did. You got to teach, you know, stop telling me you can't do, because yes, you can. 2 or 3 churches can get together and create a school. Yeah, I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear it. You can create a school, a Saturday school. If you can't do it during the week, do it on Saturdays, 9 to 3 every Saturday. A group of children gonna be here, and we're gonna help them. We're gonna provide tutors and all that stuff, and feed them and make it happen. You know, right. So we got to use the resources we got, and we got 86,000 churches in Black churches in America. Please,
you should be doing better. I want to throw out an unpopular opinion. You know, you mentioned about starting school on Saturday. Well, my child has basketball, soccer, football, blah, blah, blah.
Priorities.
Many people feel like, okay, I push my kids into sports because, well, I know that's a moneymaker potentially. But first they got to get through high school, they got to get through college, and they got to even train and be conditioned and hopefully picked up by a scout and hopefully be the first string. If not, they're going to need to be on the team somewhere. You know, they might be a red shirt. So it's like, okay, let's kind of, what do you say to people to try to adjust their mindset when it comes to?
Okay. I think a lot of particularly men folk, a lot of the men folks try to push their sons into being what they wasn't being. Oh. It's kind of like the Joe Jackson syndrome. Joe Jackson was a musician, and he pushed his kids into it because his kids fulfilled his dream. You know what I'm saying? Thankful, we thankful we saw Michael and all them, but really that was the dad's push, the dad's mission. You know what I'm saying? But everybody can't be the Jacksons. You know what I mean? So if you look at it, I just what I do. Okay, each August there are over 1 million high school football players playing in the country. 1 million. Out of that million, 300,000 of them are seniors. Okay, the NCAA has a little bit over 70,000 NCAA scholarships, most of which are not going anywhere because a lot of those athletes are already playing. So you only fighting for a freshman class. You're only fighting for a slither of 70,000. So you go from 1 million to maybe, let's say, 30,000. I'm being real modest. Let's say 30,000 positions. I know they ain't 30,000 positions, maybe more like 10, 15. So 1 million to 30,000. What percentage is that? That's not even have one half of 1%. Let's say 10% of a million is 100,000. So it's 10,000. So that's maybe like 3%. 3% out of so 97% of them you ain't gonna get the Division I scholarship. Then okay, 70,000. Now the NCAA, I mean the NFL, out of that 70,000, they only scout 6,500 of them. This is the latest figures I got, 6,500. So you go from a million to do a 300,000, millions, 300,000, 70,000, well, 30,000, 70, let's say 70,000, 6,500 scouted. Draft, they only draft 256, 260, you know, and out of that 260, 100 and some of them gonna play for 4 years. And in the NFL, there's no guaranteed contract. Well, one guy, Kirk Cousins, has a guaranteed contract. One player, first time in history, got full guaranteed contract. Most of them guys don't get guaranteed money. Over 1,500 guys are cut from August to December every NFL season. So it's no guaranteed money in that. And then look at your parents. Let me say this: parents play football. What kind of grades your child bringing home? Because he's gonna have to play 3 years of football if he make it to college. 3 years before he can go possibly get drafted. 3 years. If your child can't read, you ain't got no chance. He ain't got no chance. If he can't compute, because he got to take the ACT, he got to go through these tests. He had to have at least a 2.3 GPA to play Division I. They may raise that. Now I know some of this stuff they're gonna suspend because of COVID, but even still, your child ain't gonna. I mean, parents gotta be realistic about it. If your child in high school and he ain't recognized by the nation, if he just let's say Jonesboro, he's the baddest thing in Jonesboro. Man, he's competing with guys from California, everywhere trying to get in Alabama. And then let's just say he makes it to the NFL. Let me put that. Over 7% of the NFL players are broke within 3 years. Broke, living with their mom and daddy, got child support that doesn't change because a lot of them make these babies, and the child support is going to be the same as it was when you was playing. You know, you got all this going on. You blew all your money. No financial. That's nothing, parents. If you want your kid, if you think your kid going, parents, you need to go back to community college, school, and learn about business, contracts, agents. You know, there's books out there you can read on that. Teach your child financial literacy. You become financial literacy. You become good with your money, because whatever you do with your money, he or she gonna do with their money. If you broke, they're gonna be broke. You know what I'm saying? So all these things got to come into play. But I think we setting our children up, because I want okay. Look, Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. He's the owner. He's owned the team since the 80s. This guy, that team is worth $4 or $5 billion. If he can cut these checks to those 30 or 40 players, how much money is he getting? Why are we selling for this being an athlete and not being the owner? Why are we selling? Why are we letting our children sell it? We got enough athletes. We got enough rappers. We got enough entertainers. What we don't have is owners. You can still love football and be a sports commentator, and your kids can be doing that in middle school and high school. Commentate on YouTube, blow up on YouTube as a commentator. Become an agent. If you love to read, you like to read, and you love sports, be an agent. You can be an agent from 21 years old to the time you die. And you can represent as many athletes as you can get, and you get 10, 15% of a 20 or 30 or $100 million contract. And you do that 10 times a year, you can do various things. Make the jerseys, do something. If you love the game, think of the business of the game. We lose out on the business. We have huh?
These are the conversations we're not having within our circles, within our families. I've been learning how to trade, and we've been talking about how we're not teaching our young people more options when it comes to increasing the quality of their life, their finances. Let's teach them something else besides, like you said, sports and entertainment. We are so capable of so much more. We can become the owners. In my sociology classes, we learn about the division of classes, and you have essentially the haves and the have-nots. And of course, over the centuries, the gap has changed a little, But now we're seeing the gap kind of widening again, where there's no longer that middle class is almost coming down to that low class, and so
Yeah.
you have this top percent again. They're up here, but we're way down here. So like, what
And
are we
you
gonna
know,
do?
the top 1% made like 26 trillion last year during COVID.
Because
And a lot of them, like the Steve Jobs, well, Steve, not Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerbergs, and all those cats increased their wealth during COVID. If you was in tech, you made money.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So that's why we gotta get them as babies, elementary, 5, 3, 5, 6 years old. You gotta introduce that stuff. And so it's embedded in them by the time they're 15. Even if you're the top baseball, football player. It's a young man. He played for UT a few years ago, Joshua Dobbs. I think he's a backup for one of the NFL teams. I think Pittsburgh or whatever. Josh Dobbs. He's from Georgia. This man actually graduated aeronautical engineering. He can play the piano. On his off football season, he's working. So I'm like, you can do both. If you're going to do that, make sure your child's a genius if you're going to put that much time in. Otherwise, I'm telling you, you'll know by the 8th or 9th grade whether this is going to go anywhere. If it ain't, why we keep doing this? We got to set them up for manhood, set them up for success, set them up for woman. You set your kid up, and parents got to learn how to say no to those tough, because those heartstrings pulling. You can't make your baby rebels because you want to really play. I'm like, man, this ain't going nowhere. We got to find you a trade. College ain't for everybody, but we need more plumbers. We need more electricians.
And they make money, like
a lot of money.
So again, Mr. Reggie Jenkins, he is meeting needs and changing lives through his program or organization, I should say, UUNIK Academy. So let's tell people where you're located. Well, right now you don't have a physical building, but what city you're located in, how they can get in touch with you, so we can continue these conversations in all circles, all across the globe, in the Black community.
You can go to our website, UUNIK, you can go to our website. You can contact me from my website. You can go to info@unikacademy.org. My email. You can contact me 865-384-4475. It's 865-384-4475. Let me say one thing. We are on like a fund driving thing we do. We have this thing called Drive for 25. And our mission is to get 100 people to donate $25 to our cause, $25 a month or $250 a year. And that money is going towards offsetting tuition costs for, our children in school. It goes to, the educational plans, field trips, things of that sort. So we're trying to get individuals to invest in our children. But like I said, $25 a month or $250 a year. Drive for 25 is on our website. Please check us out and please contact me. And we'll be talking again, Queen B, because like I said, my mission is to start here, but don't mean we have to end here as far as the school. So,
and you know how much we spend? We can spend $25 real quick. Going to one of these restaurants, who I'm not going to name because they're not my sponsors, so I'm not going to give them free advertisement. But we go to any restaurant, not even a fast food restaurant. You can barely get a meal for yourself for under $10, $12.
Yeah.
So, why not support a great cause that's going to help uplift and empower our young people and set them on the right path? That's going to lead them to success. Not what we think success looks like, but what we know. And Mr. Reggie knows this path, and he knows what success can be for these individuals, these children, these families, if they apply themselves. So that's the other component as well. So
I got to come back now.
Yes, most definitely. Because I want to hear some updates on the babies and, how they're doing.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I'm hopefully next time I have you, I just bring one of them on and you can just see them and they'll tell you what's what. I like as much as I like to showcase them when they with me. I like to showcase them because they'll sell the program better than I ever can. So
That's awesome. Well, I definitely thank you for your
thank
time.
you.
So, Q Spot audience, the Q crew, stay tuned. There will be more Mr. Reggie very soon. I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting me in any way, any shape, form, or fashion you have. And don't forget to be intentional with your words, your thoughts, and your actions. And as always, pink sugar kisses, y'all. Thank you for watching the Q Spot podcast video series. Don't forget to join the Q crew so you don't miss a beat. Follow, like, and share on all of my social media platforms, as well as the major podcast platforms. Lastly, be intentional with your words, your thoughts, and your actions.